In its most simple form, the Fair Work legislation fails basic human rights set down by the ILO. Now, the International Labour Organisation is a charter and an organisation that we're signatory to. We have Labor champion ILO conventions. We have Labor who has ILO conventions in its policy, as does the ACTU, and quite rightly so.
What unions and workers are complaining about is the fact that we have had the most anti-union worker legislation in place, and we'd like to remove all remnants of that legislation.
Well, we've got these international conventions and governments choose to sign up to them. And from my point of view, why choose to sign up to a convention if you're not going to abide by it? Unless it's there as window dressing, if you're actually serious about it, you abide by it. And Labor came to power on the basis of being a good international citizen.
The main areas that the provisions of the Fair Work legislation breach are provisions which restrict the legitimate right of workers to strike and take industrial action. Other areas of concern are provisions which restrict the content that unions, workers and employers can negotiate to have in their relevant agreements. Restrictions on right of entry that are contained in the Fair Work legislation also breach fundamental rights under the ILO conventions. That's just to name a few of the breaches. We have lodged an ILO complaint. That was lodged on the 20th of February this year. The complaint sets out all the breaches of the ILO conventions that this Fair Work legislation breaches.
If the ILO find the Fair Work legislation has failed its conventions, well, why don't we hold the federal government up to its party's own policies and say, implement them? Why don't we hold the federal government up to the international conventions it championed in opposition and say, implement them? Any lesser outcome for the trade union movement, to me, is completely unacceptable. Why should we compromise on fundamental human rights? Now, why?